don't get it. Why'd these guys bother getting into a major shootout?
Desperation made them panic?
Now that's a laughable theory. Despair is like the last stages of cancer. You've got nothing left to lose.
Roanapur is a city of despair, where the worst of the worst live amongst the wicked. Humanity as a whole is corrupt, and a certain character learned this all too well. Rakuro Okajima, or Rock for short, was an ordinary man from Japan. Rock managed to scrape by college and land himself in a regular corporate job. Unfortunately, Rock had to handle being abused and mistreated by higher-ups. In order to survive, or at least not be thrown on the streets, Rock had to put up with the torment. To stay sane, Rock focused on reaching the level of his boss. One day, Rock ventured to the South China Sea for a business trip. However, Rock was kidnapped and held for ransom by an organized group of pirates. Their name was the Lagoon Company. Lagoon tried to negotiate Rock with Asahi Industries, but his boss was extremely calm. He told Lagoon Company that Rock's return to Japan was not necessary. As a matter of fact, he wanted Lagoon to put Rock on the phone so he can talk to him himself. He told Rock to literally disappear into the South China Sea. Rock was told that his funeral was already being arranged. Rock's job was more concerned about the CD that Rock was carrying with him than the life of a loyal employee. Asahi Industries would value the stability and security of their company over the life of an innocent man. Rock realized his life was an accessory to the self-serving nature and greed of his company. Although this realization allowed the audience to see the greed of humanity, this was child's play compared to Revi's reality. Revi and Rock were on a mission in a sunken ship. As Revi is ravaging for valuable items, Rock begins to feel guilty about what they are doing. The peak of Rock's guilt occurred when he saw a picture of the deceased captain's family. When Revi returned, Rock explains to her why they should leave everything there. As Revi teases him, Rock continues preaching. He says they don't have a right to anything these men have earned throughout their lives. If anyone has that right, it should be the families of the men who have died. To normal people, these items are just some antiques, but to the people that left them behind, they're irreplaceable. Revi stops to think about Rock's perspective. She sits down to ask Rock a question. Revi picks up two items she finds on the ground and asks Rock what they are. Rock is confused, but he answers her question nonetheless. He tells Revi that one is a skull and the other is an old medal. Revi tells Rock that his answer is wrong. The two items she is holding in her hands are both things and nothing more. As soon as their meaning is stripped away, that's all they really are. They're just things. The memories of others hold no value in society. Their true value is determined by the one thing everyone agrees on: money. Rock is upset about Revi's response and asks if money is her god. Revi is amused and tells Rock that money is power, something more useful than God. Other than power, what do we really value in life? Revi doesn't depend on love or God anymore. When Revi was just a little girl, she could never find love no matter how much she craved it. The only way Revi found love was by clinging on to the hope of God. She believed in God until she was almost beaten to death by a group of cops for no reason at all. To the cops, all they saw was another ghetto rat with no power and no God. All Revi could do was rely on guns and money to survive. As long as those things exist, the world is a great place. Rock begins to feel empathetic until Revi reveals something to him. Not everyone has the luxury of living a normal life like he did. Revi doesn't want to hear Rock speaking from the same perspective as the privileged. Nothing's worse than being treated like scum by your own companions. Revi makes a vow that the next time Rock speaks from the same perspective as those hypocrites, he will no longer be one of them. When that happens, she'll kill him. A privileged life was a luxury these twins could not afford. This is the story of the vampire twins. The balance of power was being disrupted in Roanapur. A pair of deranged children known as the vampire twins have killed many of the men from the major powers of the city. The leader of the Russian mafia known as Balalaika is meeting up with Mr. Chang, the leader of the Hong Kong triad. Balalaika wants to inform Mr. Chang about what she found on these twins. She found what she was looking for in Rowan's shop. Mr. Chang was instantly confused, but listened anyway. Rowan is known for distributing adult films, so how does this relate to the twins? Well, Balalaika was looking for a very specific type of adult film, one that involves murder as well as children. After only an hour, Rowan had over 250 titles for her. Balalaika spent over a day looking through videos made for sickos and creeps until she found what she was looking for. Hansel and Gretel are what they were called in the video. Mr. Chang was disgusted. However, he asked what caused the twins to become killing machines. The people responsible for making those type of videos made the kids take part in the killings. They were required to kill other children, kids who were more or less in the same predicament as them, in order to survive. These kids learned more and more gruesome methods of killing to entertain their twisted caretakers. At some point, they just accepted their fate, descending into the world of shadows, their innocence long forgotten. All those kids know how to do is create and spread disaster. The major powers of Oranipur just happen to get their feet wet. Chang asks Balalaika if she plans on starting another war. Another is crazy. But Balalaika disagrees with his wording. She says the term controlled conflict fits the situation better. It's not like her actions are unjustified. Mr. Chang agrees to help Balalaika eliminate Hansel and Gretel once and for all. Balalaika is waiting for Hansel to arrive. As Balalaika looks up, she yells for Hansel to reveal himself. When Hansel emerges from the tree line, he praises Balalaika for knowing where he was. He was surprised that he wasn't able to kill a single soldier on his way there. Hansel begins to taunt Balalaika about that one soldier she lost. Hansel goes into detail about every sound her soldier made in his final moments. As Balalaika continues to calmly smoke her cigar, Hansel comments on her cold behavior.
She is cold though, I ain't gonna.
And says it won't be long before she joins him. Balalaika says it's a shame, because this is going to be the place where he dies. She tells him before that, he is going to apologize for all the trouble he has caused and kneel to beg for forgiveness. Hansel thinks Balalaika is joking, before his kneecaps get shot out. Hansel looks in horror and tries to throw his axe at Balalaika, but his hand gets blown off. Balalaika tells him, like it or not, this is how he's going to die. Hansel begins to smile. He says that he can't die. He's killed too many people. Balalaika is intrigued by this, or at least the thought of entertaining it. Balalaika watches as Hansel struggles to take his last few breaths before dying. The warped reality Hansel lived his life by isn't understood until Rock has a conversation with the last surviving twin, Gretel.
That was a beautiful song. Where did you learn it?
Rock is enjoying Gretel's company. As the two begin to spend more time together, Gretel begins taking a liking to Rock. Rock tries to make small talk with her, but he finds out that Gretel is more broken than he previously imagined. Gretel explains how her hometown was a dark and lonely place. She explained all she ever saw were tall cement walls. A certain dictator passed a law to make abortion illegal. His plan was to create a large workforce for the future of the country. However, most people were still too poor to care for their children. As a result, many families gave their children to state-run orphanages. This allowed the secret police to find a number of uses for the children. Even when the dictator was assassinated, the orphans remained. Once the twins were sold to the mafia, all they ever saw was blood and darkness. Gretel remembers they would beat and kick them so hard that they would urinate blood. Every night, the twins pondered, why was it that God wanted them to suffer like that? And eventually, they stopped asking. The other children would be brought before them and beaten to death with bats. When the twins looked in terror at the adults, they were laughing. All of the adults were laughing. After a while, the twins began laughing as well. As the twins laughed, they realized how the world really works. The world would continue spinning as long as people were being killed. That must be the reason why they exist, to kill people forever. People kill, get killed, and kill again. Gretel says this is the thread that ties everyone together. Rock is saddened by her reality and asks Gretel if she is sad that her brother died because of this. Gretel gets confused by this question. As the twin begins to turn around, Hansel says that he is right there. Hansel and his sister are always together. They can't be touched by the thread. All they have to do is keep killing. That's the reason why they're alive. So they don't have to be sad anymore. There's the smell of blood, the sound of screaming, and the warmth of bowels. They've learned to love it all. Hearing this, Rock begins to cry. He says that's not why the twins are alive. The world is a place to find happiness. Blood and darkness are just a small part of it. Gretel sees Rock is crying, so she tries to cheer him up. Rock looks in horror as Gretel shows herself to him. Rock breaks down and runs out of the room. As the Lagoon company reaches their destination, Gretel is awestruck at the sea. As Rock is bidding Gretel farewell, an unspeakable event occurs. Gretel looks up at the birds before she spoke her last few words. It's beautiful. The sky. The people of Varanapur are corrupted by the same things everyone else is. Sex, money, and power. Many of the citizens had no choice but to adhere to the twisted behavior of society to survive. Revi, as well as the twins, had no choice but to find ways to cope with the reality they were facing. They were on the edge of despair. In Revi's case, she was able to find something that gave her the light she needed. Money and guns. The twins, on the other hand, weren't so lucky. Their reality was so messed up, it caused them to fabricate a false reality to prevent the twins from tumbling off the edge of despair. It's not just the unfortunate who have a corrupt way of living. It's the privileged as well. The privileged want to impose their sense of justice on the people who have never experienced justice in their own lives. It's hypocritical to hold the misfortunate to the same standards as the privileged, when the misfortunate cannot understand the standard. Their entire lives have taught them that in this world, the strong prevail and the weak whittle away and die. All of the misfortunate have the same mentality as they walk the rope of despair and hopelessness. They are the walking dead.